Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to answer 3 questions. 1. How to deal with changing lights. 2. How to deal with artists that jump around and artist motion. And 3. Who was the first person I actually photographed when I started concert photography many moons ago. I'm Robert Maxfield. I'm a concert and music photographer in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, and I've been one for a really long time. And welcome to Max Concert Photography, where we talk everything concert and music photography related. I've been listening to my subscribers and I asked a few questions, and one of the things I asked was, what is the hardest thing about concert photography? And they said overwhelmingly dealing with changing lights, and the second thing was artist movements, and that's the first thing I'm going to cover. The second thing I'm going to cover is how to deal with an artist that jumps around in movement. Artist movement can be a very difficult thing because you're dealing with low light, and in a lot of cases some people deal with slow shutter speeds, and that can be part of the issue. And the last question I'm going to answer is Nibby. Cat in the back. The last question I'm going to answer is, who is the first artist I actually photographed when I started photographing concerts and music? And that's the last one. Question number 1. Dealing with light and the problems you have with lighting. And the first thing is to make sure that your camera is set up. I do not recommend using evaluative or matrix metering. They cause issues. When you have matrix or evaluative, they meter the entire scene, and they take a little portion here, a little portion there, a little portion here, a little portion here, and then they average them to give you your meter set reading. That causes all kinds of issues and all kinds of problems. So what you want to do is you want to have your camera, if possible, set to automatic focus continuous, and you want your metering set to spot. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set your camera into manual exposure mode. No aperture priority, no shutter priority, none of that mess. You want to make sure that you are controlling the camera. The only thing that you want to be in automatic is your white balance and your autofocus, and your autofocus should be in continuous, not single but in continuous. Do not use the default metering system, which is matrix or evaluative. That meters the entire scene and then averages little sections of that scene to give you an average exposure, and that's a problem. You want to be able to meter off the main subject's nose, and that's where you want to focus too, if possible, is off the main subject's nose. That way you get the proper exposure for the face. If you are, say you're shooting somebody that is backlit, that means the light's coming from over their shoulder and from behind them, and then you get that silhouette, that's an accident. I'm telling you, a lot of people think that is pure art. That happens because the metering is wrong, and your evaluative metering is wrong because you're getting light from the back and you're not metering off the front, off the person's face. And that's what you need to do. If you want the person's face, then meter off of their face and their nose. Now you say, well, I got all this stuff around me. It will average out. The main subject is what you need in focus and what you need metered correctly. Now granted, sometimes it's harder to do that with a wide-angle lens. And I know a lot of people like to use wide-angle lenses, and I've seen people all the way down to fish eyes or whatever. And that whatever your style is, that's fine. But the main subject in your photograph is what needs to be in focus, and that needs to be metered and exposed correctly. So if you're using a wide-angle lens, it is a lot tougher to do that because you've got a little bitty sliver of the area to meter off of, and a little bitty sliver of the area to focus on. But with a wide angle, you don't have to really worry about focus because you've got usually a massive area of depth that you can focus from. Typically what I will set my camera, I have two cameras I use. I use both of them Nikon D800s. I use one with a 28-105 lens and one with an 80-200. The 80-200 is an f2.8. The 28-105 is an f3.5, f4.5. Don't need anything better or faster than that, actually, to do the job. So that's what I use, and I will set those up in pre-concert, before walking in the venue. I'll make sure first when the cameras fire, I'll make sure I get an image, and I'll make sure that works. And then I will set up my ISO to 1600. Now people say, "Oh God, I got to use 12,000. I got to use 52,000." No, you don't. Okay. So what happens is that a lot of people rely on these mirrorless cameras to give them what you see is what you get through the viewfinder as a photograph. And that may work, it may not, but you don't have to have that. Also, if you're using the autofocusing, where the eye autofocusing, that thing may bounce all over the viewing area, and you may have to be focused on the drummer, you may be focused on the guitar player, the bass player. You have to constantly keep track of where you're focusing to make sure you're focusing where you want. So I typically will tell you to turn that off and tell the camera where you want to be focusing. Also, when you take and you adjust that and you go higher up with that ISO to make, and your metering's not right, it's in either matrix or evaluative, it blows out your highlights and causes problems. So everything that's in the whites is gone. It also affects anything from backlighting, and that causes some of the problems with lighting. Now, say you don't believe me. Okay, that's understandable. Okay, you don't believe me. Well, all right. Try it. See what happens. Go ahead and do it. And then, if it does, but in the meantime, when you do your show and you're doing that, go back to your old ways after you've done what I've suggested for a little bit, and see if that doesn't cure the issue. Sometimes people are under different situations, but the advice I'm giving works for most situations in which you'll be encountered. I shoot everything from arenas to bars to festivals to alleys, whatever. This kind of system works. If you don't trust it, try it a little bit, go back to what you're doing. Let's talk about artist movement. And in some genres, metal, punk rock, stuff like that, movement can be a big problem. And you think, well, I've got real low light, I got bad lighting, I've got a lot of movement, I got to boost my ISO. Not really, okay? What will happen is if you go in there and your focus is set right and your shutter speed is high enough, and I will tell you, I just shot a metal festival, and I kept my shutter speed anywhere from 3/20th of a second to about 800th of a second. Generally, I hovered about a 500th of a second. If you keep it high enough, that'll stop the action. Now, the problem is, well, it's dark, it's dark. I need to raise my ISO so I can see what I'm doing. No, okay, that's not true. What happens is when you get a dark picture but your subject is stopped, you're okay. You go into Camera Raw, you go into Lightroom or Photoshop, and the first thing you do is you boost the exposure. So it'll have the exposure and the photograph will be dark. And you say, okay, I boosted one stop, I boosted another stop, I boost it until the exposure, I raise the exposure until the picture becomes normal, okay, and looks fairly properly exposed. And you say, well, hey, wait a minute, the colors are not right. Then I take my color temperature and I move it to the right, and I take that until I've got to the point where the color starts to balance out. And you go, well, the colors are really harsh and they're really, really too vibrant. Then you take the vibrance and you take the saturation and you start moving it down, and then you move back and forth with your sharpness, and sometimes you'll get, with the low light, you'll get a little bit of grain or noise, and at that point with the new Photoshop Camera Raw, Lightroom, you can tell it to denoise, and it denoises it and it looks normal. You may have to tweak a little bit here, a little bit there, but do not worry about underexposing anything, because it's better to actually underexpose than it is to overexpose the photograph. Now, especially if you're using older equipment, a lot of the older equipment just flat won't take the higher ISOs without a lot of the noise, and then you can chop the noise out of it, but still it's not a good thing to do. So number one for question number 2, set that shutter speed up high enough so that you know you're going to stop the action, and do not worry about underexposing, because when you get it into Camera Raw or you get it in Photoshop or Lightroom, you can adjust that exposure until it increases to the point where it needs to be, and that will take care of that subject, that artist movement right there. And just trust it. It's going to look weird, it's going to feel strange because everything's dark, but trust me, it's going to work. And the last question, I asked who was the first artist in which I photographed, and number 1 was Brian May, number 2 was Rick Emmett of Triumph, number 3 was Ted Nugent, and number 4 was Chuck Berry. And I've shot all of those people in the past. So, but the number 1, the very first artist I ever shot with anything camera-wise was Brian May of Queen, and I shot him in 1977 at Fort Worth Tarrant County Convention Center. He was up on a riser, and he pointed at me, and I took his photograph. I had an Instamatic camera with Ektachrome 64. That's ASA ISO 64 in a flash, and I like to kill him. I thought I'm embarrassed, but I got a picture of him, and that I hold on to for forever. So Brian May is the first one. Rick Emmett was the second one. I actually shot Rick Emmett from Triumph. Same camera, same everything, did the same thing. Then I knew it was time I needed to get another camera. And for Christmas, my parents gave me a Petrie Compact 35 SLR 35 millimeter camera. And I shot with it for about a year and a half. And then I graduated to an Olympus OM1N. And at the time I bought a 200 millimeter prime, a 135 millimeter prime. I had a 50 millimeter f1.8, and I had a 28-28, and that was my rig for a long time until I went digital. And Brian May.